This is the brand new X Mansion that is already modular compatible without you having to make any changes to it. But I saw some pictures of it next to other Marvel modulars and was worried about how it would work in my modular city. So I spent a few hours taking pictures of it next to every single official LEGO designed modular building to see if it would look good in my modular city. And I'm going to be honest, some of the results surprised me, both in a good way and in a bad one. I'll show you what I found out. Let's go ahead and dive in by showing you some of the currently available modulars next to the mansion, starting with the museum and the jazz club. Now, I want to emphasize that the mansion was not designed really to be in an urban setting. The actual X Mansion is in suburban Westchester, New York, but because it's a modular building, we want to see how it looks here. And one concern I have is how far back it is in the base plate. And you can see that with these two modulars right here. So I'm looking at how the sidewalls are exposed and how that grass might interact with the sidewalk from other modular buildings and how that all connection point like this shows up with the jazz club here on the right and on the left, the museum. Not too bad to modify the sidewalk a little bit to make it look a little bit better. I don't mind how this looks next to the museum on the side. I think that looks fantastic, and honestly, not too bad on the jazz club either, with that dark orange coming out from the first level. Moving on to the hotel with the mansion and then the Sanctum Sanctorum. So we've got a currently available modular in the hotel plus the Marvel modular in the Sanctum. And I'm not as big of a fan of the connection points here with the hotel. There's a lot of exposed sidewall, and even with the Sanctum Sanctorum, a Marvel modular, I'm not convinced this is a great connection point. Maybe some sidewalk modification on the museum would be necessary, but not too bad on that side. Just looking at overhead, you can see the difference in the scale of these particular buildings, and when you flip it around, it really kind of is apparent the flaw in the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is that alleyway, seeing all the way through, and very much conflicts with that greenery at the front of the mansion. Even with the boutique hotel, that side view is really tough to work out, but that's more of a flaw of the boutique hotel than it is the X Mansion. Overall, not a huge fan of this particular combination. Let's move on now to some maybe parks and other kinds of things that might be more public, like town halls and the museum. Now, I think the town hall has a huge flaw overall, and that's the size. The museum isn't too bad next to the mansion, as we mentioned earlier, but I can't get past that whole size differential, the height differential with the town hall. And again, that's not really the fault of the mansion, although it is a short modular building. Looking at the connection gap over here on the town hall, it's not too bad, but it just keeps going up. And for that reason, I have a hard time really getting into that combination. Of course, seeing it next to town hall made me think about an orange explosion by putting the corner and the town hall right there next to the mansion. And I gotta say, that is a lot of dark orange. Now again, the town hall, even on the other side, isn't all that great. I'm not a fan of that, but the garage, it's not too bad. Not this side. I'm not a fan of the garage being on the right-hand side. And you can kind of see this overhead picture. Really, the mansion just kind of gets lost in there. On the other side, though, I don't think the garage is all that bad. Now, I happen to think that the garage looks better generally to the left of modular buildings, but on the left-hand side here, it's okay. Like, it's not too bad. There's a little bit of exposed studs on the side of the garage, but you can probably work around that. It has maybe a little bit like this connection point right here. Not too bad if you maybe build up some of the greenery and some rock work on the other side. Of course, we can combine the mansion with other residential buildings to maybe have a little bit of a city residential zone. Here I've got the apartment from the bookshop with the mansion and the bookshop itself, and I'm not really disappointed with this. This is actually kind of nice. When you look at the bookshop, that isn't too bad of a connection point. The apartment isn't quite as good, but I think there's some ways to work around that. And I don't really want to move the mansion forward in the base plate, but I don't think this is too bad. Now we could take a look at the bookshop and the pet shop sandwiched around the mansion. And again, same problem there with the apartment from the bookshop, but The pet shop, not too bad. The heights are shorter on these modular buildings, and I think it fits in reasonably well with the dome from the X Mansion. Now, putting them together in a different way, kind of putting the two commercial establishments on the left and the apartments on the right, not a bad look either. So this is definitely in the running for some of my favorite buildings here. Now, the connection points, not too bad with the bookshop on the left itself. The apartment on the right, not ideal, but again, not too bad. I like this, and I like how you just have those residential buildings in one area. Again, understanding that the X Mansion isn't really an urban building. Next, I want to show it next to a lot of the other commercial establishments, which is the bulk of the existing modular buildings. And we got the police station here and the detective's office on the right-hand side. And I'm going to be honest, I really like this connection point with the police station because of that news kiosk. It just looks and fits so much better. I might tweak the sidewalk just a little bit on the mansion, but it will flow pretty nicely. The detective's office on the other side, not quite as strong, but it's not terrible either. The heights aren't too bad. There is a little bit of exposed wall that isn't great for the detective's office, but it could be something that maybe you can modify a little bit, especially with that sidewalk. Turning now to the cafe corner, the OG modular and the Parisian restaurant, my favorite modular building. Again, not too bad with the Parisian restaurant on the right-hand side. The sidewalks kind of work together, maybe extend that eatery out a little bit or modify the sidewalk a little bit. The cafe corner's okay. Again, modifying that sidewalk would make it work a lot better. And I'm not too opposed to having it next to the cafe corner because there is not a lot of really weird coloration on the walls with that. So this is a potential combination for me. Now, if we flip them around, I'm not quite as sold. I was thinking maybe the walkway for the Parisian restaurant would be better, that staircase, and it's not too bad. But I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. Maybe it's still okay. On the right-hand side with the cafe corner, I still think that can work as a building. Although, again, just looking at it, the cafe corner a little bit tall. That connection point there, maybe modifying it a little bit could help, but I'm not as pleased with it as I thought. Not too bad though, because the heights are separated out a little bit on that one. Taking a look at keeping the Parisian restaurant on the left, but adding the Spring Lantern Festival was an interesting opportunity to see how the mansion would look next to some green space. And I gotta say, this has some potential. I like having that with some park next to it because it feels like it might be more in a green space or suburban type setting. Lots of trees or foliage relative to the rest of the modular city, which is why I'm focusing so much on this connection point. Now, I don't like how this walkway just kind of dies into the modular or the X Mansion, but that can be solved by taking the other part of the Spring Lantern Festival and putting it there like I've done here with the cinema on the left. And this one I'm not a huge fan of. Something about the dark tan with the orange, not great, but look at how this connection point is right here with the entire Spring Lantern Festival on this side. I really kind of like where this is at. Now I can extend that white wall back a little bit to maybe work on improving that connection, but there is definite potential when you take a look at these combinations right here. Just want to give you a couple more close-up images of this connection point. I think you can modify the sidewalk a little bit, or instead just take that white wall and move it back and add to it right there. One drawback is, of course, you've got the statue from the Spring Lantern Festival right next to the lamppost, which isn't ideal, but it's something we might be able to work around a little bit. And I want to maybe reconfigure the sign for Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, but still not too bad of a way to look at this. I want to take some other modulars that I think are shorter, like the diner and the brick bank, see how they look. Not too bad, but one problem with the brick bank is that there is just a lot of strange coloration on the side wall there. The downtown diner, I'm not as big of a fan of. Next to this building, just maybe a lot of colors going on. Again, modifying the sidewalk, not too hard to do. This isn't too bad, one I'll keep in mind when I put back together my modular city. Moving on to the Assembly Square and the Grand Emporium, kind of in a little bit of a shopping center area. Not a huge fan of this one, just mainly because of the height of the Emporium and the Assembly Square. The connection points aren't too bad, but I would maybe want to set up some sort of boundary, some chain link fence, similar to what you see with the Parisian restaurant in front of the mansion, to kind of bifurcate the sidewalk from the grassy areas there. Otherwise, not a terrible connection, not as bad as I thought it would be, but I'm not all that enamored with this one. Next, let's take a look at some of the old school modulars, the Greengrocer and the Fire Brigade. These are two that I think are timeless, and I don't think they're all that bad. The heights are a little bit of an issue, especially with the Greengrocer. I'm not a fan of that connection point, but when you take a look at the Fire Brigade, I don't think it's too bad. That might actually work out reasonably well. Something about the dark red, the dark orange, I know it's a little bit of a deep and dark combination, but I don't think it looks too bad. Curious to know what you think about this particular combination down in the comments below. But I do want to show you my favorite combination, which is the police station, the X-Mansion, and the Spring Lantern Festival. I really like that connection point between the police station and the X-Mansion, and the way that that Spring Lantern Festival fits up on that right-hand side is definitely very, very workable for a slight modification. Again, my goal is not to pour a bunch of money into making the X-Mansion compatible with the modular city. I don't want to do a ton of building on it. Maybe do a little bit of reworking on the sidewalk, and that's it. And I think this combination does that perfectly for what we have in our modular city. I hope some of these combinations pique your curiosity and will show you how this could work in your modular city. I'll be doing a review of this set as well as the brand new LEGO Botanical Garden, so make sure you check out those videos when they drop. Thanks for watching, and always remember to keep building together.